Hey, how's it going everyone? I have been asked to do this many times and finally here's the guide to riding in a frigate in Nullsec. As you can see, I'm on a Blood Raider station in NPC Nullsec. I chose this area mainly due to low player activity, at least at the time of filming of this video, and also due to my preference of using lasers when deep into Nullsec or Lowsec. And currently the ship of my choice is the Crusader, which is an MR Interceptor. I chose to fly the Interceptor primarily because of its immunity to warp bubbles. If you have never been to Nullsec before, very likely the very first system will be littered with warp bubbles. The fit for my Interceptor is fairly simple. I have 4 Metaphor pulse energy beam lasers in the high power slots. The ammo is the Multifrequency crystal, as usual. For the medium power slots, I have the Microwarpdrive and a Tech 2 cap recharger. The low power slots are equipped with a small armor repairer, a heatsink, and 2 inertial stabilizers. I have the 2 inertial stabilizers and the low friction nozzle joints rig specifically to maximize the agility of the ship. Even though I'm immune to warp bubbles, I'm not immune to people warp scrambling me at gate camps. This is not a completely foolproof way to escape the gate camps, but the enemy interceptor will have to be really fast in order to target and warp scramble this ship. I just hope to be a bit faster than whoever I encounter along the way to Nullsec, and in Nullsec itself. The other rig I have installed is the Collision Accelerator to increase the damage of my lasers. I opted out not to equip the Tech 2 lasers, simply because the Tech 2 crystals that they use deteriorate with each shot. Since I'm not in any Nullsec corporation, it's really tough for me to resupply the ammo once I run out. So when I'm in Nullsec, I rely on the advantage offered by the lasers and the multi-frequency crystals. So let's take a look at how well the Interceptor does in riding in Nullsec. Lucky for me, I found an asteroid belt with 3 different battleships in it. Each of them had a different bounty, so some were easier to destroy than others. Although typically in Lowsec I would avoid trying to destroy the frigates and usually simply ignore them, in Nullsec I really wanted to destroy everything I saw. Aside from being able to damage my ship with some brutal efficiency, the frigates in Nullsec are also able to warp scramble you. Just to avoid any unnecessary surprises, I was destroying everything in sight. The very first battleship that I target was the one with the 1.4 million bounty. That was the toughest battleship to destroy of the 3 of them. Although it took some time, eventually I broke through the tank. So, as you might imagine, this is not the most efficient way of earning ISK. But it's definitely possible to destroy a high bounty battleship using just a frigate. Tech 2 lasers and crystals would have helped with the DPS, but as I mentioned before, it's not easy to resupply in Nullsec. So I try to avoid using ammo other than multi-frequency crystals that do not run out. To get that extra little DPS out of your ship, overheating your guns is not a bad idea. You can freely dock at the stations in the NPC Nullsec, and there you can repair your guns if it's needed. If you find yourself in sovereign Nullsec areas, then docking may be a problem. Typically you wouldn't have the access rights to the stations in there, unless they're owned by your corporation or alliance. As expected, the battleship with 800,000 ISK bounty was much easier to destroy. These types you can encounter in Lowsec from time to time. The tactics of destroying the battleships in Nullsec remain the same as they were in Lowsec. Keeping a fast low orbit protects your ship from getting hit, as you slowly chip away at the shield and armor of your target. All meanwhile keeping a very close eye at the D-scan. NPC Nullsec is a very dangerous place. These tend to be high traffic and popular systems. That of course attracts more players searching for PvP. And naturally the battleship with the lowest bounty was the easiest one to kill. The 650,000 ISK bounty battleships are what you would typically encounter in Lowsec. These don't pose much of a challenge for a frigate. One clear advantage of riding in Nullsec compared to Lowsec is that you typically would see several battleships per asteroid belt. That greatly cuts down the time that it takes to warp between the asteroid belts and from system to system while looking for the battleship to destroy. Having several battleships in the same spot is much more time efficient for earning ISK. Of course, riding in a frigate will not net you the same high returns as riding in a battlecruiser, but it's much easier and much more safe to travel to nullsec in a frigate, especially an interceptor. Aside from the interceptor, it's also possible to use a stealth bomber for the same purpose. It's easier to get away from the gate camps and travel relatively undetected due to the covered ops cloak, but the warp bubbles present a very serious danger. Heavy gate camps with warp bubbles will be able to decloak you in no time. So it's really a gamble and depends how lucky you get each time you travel to nullsec. With all that in mind, flying the interceptors for ratting in nullsec is still a very viable choice, especially if you're not part of any nullsec corporation and simply want to experience something besides low-sec ratting. Let me know what you think of this fit, whether this one would work for you or if you have a different strategy for ratting in nullsec. If you have any questions, please leave a comment, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you want to see more videos like this one. Thank you very much for watching, and please check out my other videos on low-sec ratting in frigates and ninja gauss harvesting in a wormhole. Safe flying out there!